Hello, welcome to this From Caracas. Once again, we are talking about the Sao Paulo Forum that is being held here in Caracas in its 25th edition, and a special edition where topics important for Latin America such as Venezuela, Cuba, Puerto Rico, and much more other informations like, for example, the campaign to make former Brazilian President Luis Ignacio Lula Silva free Lula or Lula Libre, are such important topics that are being talked and discussed, among other also about communication and how the left movements are developing their communicational strategies in this world that currently show us that the left cannot be left behind in these matters. So now we have a special guest from Puerto Rico who is going to share her views about what is currently going on in the island, because as we all know, there is so much coming from the Caribbean right now. Our guest is Rosa Meneses. Welcome, Rosa. She is from the Nationalist Party from Puerto Rico, and we'll be talking with her. Welcome again, Rosa. Please, what's going on in Puerto Rico? Why is it important for the left movements to be known? What they need to know, what is currently going on in Puerto Rico, and what we have seen, that people united, raising their voices as one.
Yes, it has been a whole week or more than 10 days, I think, that the whole people went to the streets, and they took the streets, and it was a popular movement, really, and they were claiming the resignation of the colonial governor, Pedro Rosselló Nevares. Because they, there was a great filtration of some messages in this Instagram, I think it was done, and talking about women and making laugh of some other women and the gay movement and some musicians, and and the great corruption. It was discovered a great corruption. There were some arrests that the FBI did days ago, and well, it was so. I think it was like a volcano who erupted rapidly, because it was so the rage of the people who was for decades. I could say of course, I could say inclusive. I could say that it was not only for days or months, for years. The rage of a whole people that have been subjected to this corruption, and to these people who are at the political dominion of the colonial apparatus in Puerto Rico, which is not really a government. It's simply they are the ones who are executing the political strategy of the imperialism in Puerto Rico.
What the people of Puerto Rico has shown these weeks is a sneak peek of what might be coming next.
Yes.
Will be they fighting for their liberation, for the end of colonialism in Puerto Rico?
I cannot say that as you said it. I can say that this is the beginning of something that we who are part of a liberation movement in Puerto Rico have to work with them, have to design a tactic and a strategy to unite all the liberation movements in Puerto Rico, the different parties, the different groups we have, with the social groups, with the social organizations that we have in Puerto Rico, and to try to get this movement to the very point of the question question in Puerto Rico, which is the colonialism. And I think the most important expression of this movement is that the dignity of a whole nation that has been subjected to colonialism by the imperialism the North American imperialism, the Yankee imperialism, more than a century, has not been defeated. There is still, we have dignity. You know, colonialism is like a bad, you know, it's like a sick. The colonialism it's all your dignity. It's like a very, very hard golpe struck to the dignity of the people. And we could thought that Puerto Rico was, you know, was defeated. The nation was defeated, but it's not. We have seen that right now. People that you could never think they were going to express his rage in this form, we saw them. We saw them. The streets on San Juan, on the streets on Lares, on the streets on Jayuya, and the whole island.
And how was possible all of these mobilizations? Because we've seen in the streets
spontaneous mobilization. It was a spontaneous mobilization. Nobody organized nothing. It was a spontaneous mobilization. One said by the internet.
Is this the first time that Puerto Ricans bind together and all fight united for the same cause?
No, we have an antecedent. It's Vieques. That was the fight for against the U.S. Marine, and it was beginning of the 1999, and it took 3 years, but we won. We won that fight, and it was the whole nation of Puerto Rico fighting against the U.S. Marine. And it was
which was the result
the
of
victory.
that?
It was a victory for us, because you know the U.S. Army and the U.S. Marine used the island, the tiny island of Vieques, as a tiro al blanco, as a, you know, and they had all these 150,000 people who lived there were limited to live on the little part of the island between the Campo de Tiro and between the part where they had all the bombs, you know, and we could unite all the sectors of the society of Puerto Rico, and in 3 years, it took us 3 years, we won that struggle.
But that took you 3 years, and this took 2 weeks.
No, yes, just to make Rosselló to resign, but you know the fight has not ended here.
That's an important thought.
Has not ended
the
here.
fight doesn't start.
Yeah, the people is now right now the people is claiming for the resignation of the Junta de Control Fiscal.
But are Puerto Ricans aware of the importance of the magnitude of this protest of being on the streets, claiming for Rosselló to resign, and of all the social consequences that it carries?
Yes, I think they are. I think they are. I think they are taking conscious of the movement they have created by so abruptly but so important, and they have known right now that they have power to do what they can do if we unite as a nation, as a whole people.
Rosa, you are not only member of the Puerto Rican Nationalist Party, but you're also the granddaughter of a great Puerto Rican fighter and founder of the Puerto Rican Nationalist Party.
Yes.
Of Pedro Albizu Campos.
Yes.
How are the thoughts of Pedro Albizu Campos, have they inspired those peoples in the street of Puerto Rico, and how is the example, the image, the legacy of Pedro Albizu today in the streets of Puerto Rico in all those protests?
Well, it was a great surprise for us that, you know, there was only one flag, the Puerto Rican flag. There was only one hymn, the anthem, which was the revolutionary anthem of Puerto Rico. Not the one of the colonial administration, the revolutionary one. And the people, in the majority of the people, they had sweaters with the thoughts of Pedro Albizu Campos. And they were crying words of Pedro Albizu Campos said 80 years ago. Because Pedro Albizu Campos' thoughts right now are as if he was not right now telling us that those words for us.
So I guess that Puerto Rico is rebelling afterwards.
Well,
it's finally rebelling.
In a way, it's taking conscious of what we can do. We can do if we really shout together and we fight together. That's a very great importance for us. It has a very great importance for us because anyone could think that Puerto Rico was a coward nation, but it is not. It is patient, but not coward. And I think that we have shown that to the world these days.
A good example that Puerto Rico has given to the world and the left movements here meeting at the Sao Paulo Forum. Rosa, thank you very much for sharing your time with us.
Thank you to you, Laura, and your patience with me.
Thank you. Well, that was Rosa Meneses from Puerto Rico speaking for us here in From Caracas from this meeting of the 25th Sao Paulo Forum here in Caracas, sharing with us her ideas, her beliefs about what's taking place in Puerto Rico in the recent days and how the left movements and how people here at the Sao Paulo Forum may be reacting. So you stay with us with more special interviews here in From Caracas. And we are back here in this special From Caracas. Now we are speaking with Federico Palacio, who is member of the International Brigades of Solidarious Communication, and he'll be sharing with us how the left movement is articulating all of their communicational campaign in order to achieve and to access more audience around the world. Thank you, Federico. Welcome to From Caracas. Federico, tell me, what do we understand by these International Brigades of Solidarious Communication?
Bueno, las Brigadas Internacionales de Comunicación Solidaria.
Well, the International Solidarity Communication Brigades are a project that is still in initial phase. They were born a year and a half ago and is a project of the PSUV of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, which needs to build tools, production mechanisms of counter-information to combat the media fans. Also combat the media blockade that Venezuela is experiencing right now, and also all the other places in Latin America and the world where we find ourselves in resistance. It is a project that is articulated with a very complex plan, and they were still working on it, and followed by many countries. The head.
You are from Paraguay, and you represent Paraguay in this international brigade, but you also are from Italy. How do you combine those two nationalities?
Well, by father and mother, an Italian mother and a Paraguayan father. I created in Paraguay, I built a Paraguayan chapter of the International Brigades, and in Italy, I'm a member of the Brigades. In Italy, I have a manager who is Fiorina Colotti, and she's the creator of the Brigades, and she's the one who formed me in that sense as well. Following the discourse, the Brigades are articulated by national chapters. Each nation is a chapter. The head is here in Caracas, in Venezuela. Our coordinator, Valerie Serrano, from the PSUV. How do the brigades work? How do they work? The brigades work trying to build tools. They are still in construction phase. They didn't have the tools hand-defined yet. The Sao Paulo Forum is important because of this. We're trying to build networks. Then I will explain how it articulates the Paraguayan chapter, and that's more specific, but internationally. The partners, the comrades of the brigades in each country, then members of the organization who articulate the procedures, networks, and web contacts, and not only via WhatsApp or email, Telegram, but also via social communicate, and that's where the communication phase begins. We all communicated. The information is shared now because sharing information is always simple. We do it all the time, right? Now, what happens when we have that fact?
Why to create brigades in order to send out messages from the left movements?
Well, we have a lot of networks on international Latin American left. We have a lot of groups. Now the goal is just to evolve that phase of sharing information and disseminating. We want to produce it. Currently, Telesur produces a lot of information, but we belong to social movements, to street movements. We don't have the tools. That's why it will be nice, and the Forum of Sao Paulo will allow us to work together, with Telesur as well. We want to move to a production phase, but we don't have the tools. We're social movements, we're parties that don't get to build the information because we don't know maybe to use Premiere, Adobe Premiere. They don't know how to use the programs, they don't know how to use a camera, and that's why we start a training process that is itinerant. But we don't have the time to allow ourselves to train the teammates for 2 months and then follow the process. No, there's no time for that. So we start with a lot of mistakes, forming, and at the same time starting to produce. Then the Brazilian Brigade produces us information about Lula and sends us to Barrett. And we in each country spread it. We work it. We try to explain what's going on with Lula. In Paraguay, the Itaipu Agreement, we produce information as the Paraguayans will say about Itaipu, and we disseminate it on the network. And in all the countries, a work of dissemination of information is articulated. So this will be a deal. Clearly that's not possible. It's an immense human work, right? Because then there is Europe too, Italy and the members of the Italian Brigade, and then there is this other problem, that is that the left were not able to come together.
Why is the left not capable of uniting?
I believe that the root is historical. We begin the division of the left has centuries of history. We're divided centuries ago and we're still divided, and we never understood that we should unite. Humanist, socialist, or we don't unite.
But even though the left is meeting here in Caracas, and they are meeting and they are putting things together because they understand that they have to go to fight that international media message that the left is divided, that the left is corrupt, that the left has ideals that does not work. But even though they're meeting here and they're united here right now, how that goes together?
Por eso, el Foro de São Paulo.
That's why the Forum of Sao Paulo, the 25th Forum of Sao Paulo, I believe personally, and we believe it to be a tool, because in this forum, now we are together several countries and several fragments of the Latin American and international left. And then we have the possibility to meet a headless round table and talk, to understand, to work and to build. As a brigade, I proposed my project and then explained it. After that, I said that we need contacts in Quito, some safe partners to spread there and to produce as well. It must be cross-cut in the process. From Italy to come an information that Salvin said some bourgeois of the Colombo is just being a fascist, because he is a fascist. Then we spread it on Latin America, and from here we send it to Italy about what is happening here, and from there it spreads and explains why it is so difficult. I mean, we are 7 billion human beings. It's not easy for an European, for an African or Latin American to understand what is happening in the other place, so well, that's why we must adapt our vocabulary to the historical, social and economic context.
How do you take the message from the left in Latin America and the Caribbean to other parts of the world? I ask you on your condition of half Italian.
Well, the answer is really big. I'm going to talk from the point of view of the communication because that's what I deal with. And I dare to say that it's hard to carry the message because that same message that we want to carry is hidden, off-duty, by being committed to Europe, comes from Venezuela, for example, and from all countries. Of all Latin American countries, it's told what CNN and agencies want to tell. How do they do that? I'm going to give you a very simple example. Western agencies produce an average of 3,600 articles per day about Venezuela. I mean, I don't want to go through every article and see what they say because actually what I'm interested in is about the number 3,600. They have a mole of this information of daily production that is very high. And what does this mean? This means that they dominate the thought of the masses with quantity and with the capacity of production. They produce the information in massive numbers, and it's difficult to fight that. So that's basically why brigades were born. Because we need to unite all countries. It's a classic internationalist dream, but adapted to 2019. Then in a social network and in a web communication, we need to try to work against that 3,600 information that is daily produced against Venezuela and all countries. Then we're on it.
Thank you, Federico, for sharing with us your time. And like this, we were talking with Federico, and he was sharing Federico Palacio, who is from Paraguay, and also he's half Italian, and he was sharing with us the work of the international brigades of solidarity communication and how they are working to combine efforts to bring the message from the left being seen and heard around the world. Thank you again for sharing your time with us, and we continue with more interviews here in this special From Caracas from the Sao Paulo Forum.